You are now listening to the Fantasy
Whisper
podcast with your hosts, Johnny Game Time Hicks and Big Travie.
Why, hello and welcome to the Fantasy Whispers podcast. I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks, and that's my partner, Big Travie. Travis, how are we doing, brother? We have a whole week of preseason in the bag, and guess what? We get to actually talk about actual football plays now and not just what ifs and if this and if that. We actually get to produce.
Yeah, the speculation is over, Johnny, and now I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I know you feel the same way. I mean, I even moved my TV up onto my desk, so it's right in my face, so I can be watching that preseason football. And I can't believe it. We're already getting injury news we'll talk about. We're already getting people shine of it. So we're going to dive in a little bit tonight. We have a great show. This will be posted on Monday. We got a great show. We're going to dive into a little bit more preseason watch. We're going to talk about new kids in town or new old guys in town, if you will. Talking about quarterbacks that have changed teams. We're going to look at their fantasy prospects, what they do for the rest of the team. I'm excited about it. We also will be interviewing Chelsea Byers tonight. She has written us an article about women in fantasy football, her role with fantasy football, some of her passions and some of the things that interest her with it. We're going to talk about a listener league. We've been asked about a listener league a lot. We are going to open the door for a lady listener league here, the Fantasy Whispers Lady Listener League. So if you're hearing this, we'd like you to go to our Facebook page, either post there saying you want to join or message us, and that's the Fantasy Whispers on Facebook. You can catch us there and just let us know that you want to join. We've got a few spots open up. We're probably going to cut it off by Friday of this week. So that's Friday the 17th. So come and check it out.
Spots are going to fill up fast.
We've already got half of them full just from talking with people that listen already. So please do go to the Fantasy Whispers Facebook page and let us know that you want to play. We'd love to get you all in here. Then we will announce, of course, the draft time and date. And we're going to air that draft on YouTube only and give our 2 cents about that. But, Johnny, I'm excited about this episode. What about you, brother?
Dude, I'm so pumped. I've been looking forward to this all day. We're getting adjusted to our new schedule. We'll be on Sundays, posting Sunday nights after the game. So we're getting in a little bit of that game shape, if you will. Refer always to football. So a little bit of game shape for us, and I'm excited, dude. This is a really fun topic that we're going over today, and I'm excited. We're gonna do this, but first, Travis, my first bit of news is if this is your first time with us, thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you like our content, go over to our either Facebook page, our website. That's the fantasywhispers.com. So where you can get our draft kit that's coming out tomorrow, and then as well as any past podcast episodes, and you can get that on all the major ones: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all of that. So make sure you go and do that. And second of all, Travis, we're on episode 17 already, buddy.
That's
we're
right,
chugging
brother.
along. All right, let's get into the show. We're gonna do a little news and notes first.
News and notes from around the NFL.
All right, Travis, I'm going to start this show off with a little bit of sad news that we got over the weekend.
Yeah, if you will, Johnny, let me take the mic here for a second. I
think somebody else wants to take the mic real quick.
Oh,
you know
okay.
I mean? Yeah. Got to pay his man his dues. Hey.
Yeah, unfortunately, Johnny, this is some sad news, and it happens every year, and it will continue to happen this year. We've got to say goodbye to a guy that was becoming near and dear to our hearts before we could even see him shine on that regular season field, and that's Darius Geis of the Washington Redskins. Very unfortunate. This kid was doing it all. He was having a strong camp, and then he got on the field. He had a strong run, and he unfortunately tore his ACL, and we are sad to see that happen, especially to a young back. But I'm very confident he'll be back next year. I'm excited about his prospects for next year. But I did want to say goodbye to the big guy.
And also, I just want to touch and relate this a little bit to how this could benefit you. If you are in a keeper league or a dynasty league right now, if you're in a dynasty league, try to trade for this guy. His value is going to be pretty low right now for a guy who's maybe in a win now kind of situation. Or if you're in a keeper league and especially if it's auction, bid on this guy later in rounds because stash him on your bench. Or if you have a IR spot, definitely put him in that spot, and you're going to have a great keeper next year because he was looking like a real stud. And then you have Chris Thompson, who's another year older, and who knows if he'll be back with the team. P. Ryan is an afterthought. I mean, this year, obviously, he's going to resume that number one running back position. But if you are looking for the future in a keeper league, I definitely advise picking up this guy. He might slip in drafts because people forget about him and they're worried about this year and not necessarily the future. All right. With that said, we're going to go on to the next bit of news here. And that was that Royce Freeman had 4 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown in Denver's preseason. I just want to touch on this, Travis, because it was on our last episode about what to watch for. And we said to watch this backfield. To me, Devontae or Booker.
Actually, we're going to talk a little bit about this backfield tonight, but I do want to talk about how Royce Freeman looks strong. Booker was the name starter, and we'll get into this backfield a little bit. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks that come up and in different teams, and then we're going to dive into a little bit of each, how that affects the whole team. But it was nice to see Royce Freeman run strong and kind of fight the initial talk that was coming out of Booker's still there. Booker's the starter. Let's see, kind of how this plays out. It's just what we talk about in the preseason. It's good to watch this. Good to watch this production come out of Freeman.
Yep. All right. And then we had Matt Breida avoided structural damage in his shoulder. That's pretty good news. Although I do want to say that I think the backup in San Francisco is going to be valuable.
Like the news came out today. Initially, it was a little bit sad or a little ominous, is that McKinnon had to go in for an MRI, right?
Correct.
I just read a couple minutes ago that MRI showed that it was just a muscle strain. So now we're not looking at the same thing, but now we got both these guys banged up. So look for Jonathan Williams over there to kind of like maybe be, or Joe Williams, to maybe be a guy that's possible to sneak up here. And then we'll see what they do as far as depth. Could they bring other guys in? I still like McKinnon to be the guy there, but I think Johnny's got a point. Like we've seen what Shanahan's done, having one running back, with Freeman and another running back with Coleman, and then both be successful. So I do think there's a point to be made that a couple guys could be successful out of San Francisco.
Yep. All right. And then this is also sad news. You and I were both pretty high on him. Colts wide receiver Deon Cain suffered a knee injury in Thursday night's game against the Seahawks. You and I both were projecting him to eventually overtake that number 2 spot. Very talented. So this is very sad news. But now this makes Ryan Grant a very interesting kind of discussion point. Travis, do you want to just give your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of was buying into what Reich was saying about Ryan Grant being the guy next to T.Y. Hilton. So the Deon Cain thing would probably only solidify that. We have to say goodbye to Deon Cain. It is sad, but look for Ryan Grant's stock to go up here because he is going to be that number 2 wide receiver in that Indy offense. It just looks inevitable right now.
Yep. All right. So then Isaiah Crowell left Friday night's preseason opener against the Falcons with an apparent head injury. You never like to see your player leaving the game with a head injury. Those are oftentimes very serious. And it kind of sucked because Isaiah Crowell was actually looking very, very good. He didn't initially get the start.
That touchdown he scored, though, was nice.
It was, and he was really running with authority there. So it does raise my confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
It raises my confidence in Crowell. But at the same time, I definitely monitor this head injury and see how it plays out. But I do like what I saw out of Crowell.
Yeah, what was great about that touchdown, just to touch on it again, it was a pass. He was catching a pass. So it's nice to see him getting worked into the passing game because we know the Jets will have to throw a lot this year.
Yep. And then just a couple of minor things. Packers running back Aaron Jones returned to practice on Sunday. This is good. I want to see what he looks like in the preseason, see how he's running. You and I are kind of in the similar boat with he's definitely one of the most intriguing of the 3 running backs in Green Bay just because he can kind of do it all.
Yeah, another side note to that, Johnny, is in the Packers preseason game, Jamal Williams caught a touchdown and he caught it, which is kind of weird. Like he's not the guy they usually use in the receiving game all that much. And he caught a touchdown, did a nice move and got in for the score. So not a lot of overreaction there, but it's like, Jamal Williams, if he holds down the fort, they're going to continue to make him the guy. I think he's going to get the first crack at it. Aaron Jones, though, I agree, is the more exciting, tantalizing option behind him.
Mm-hmm. And then the last bit of news was Marlon Mack exited the Colts preseason opener with a hamstring injury. They went out and signed Brandon Oliver today. I'm not expecting anything from Brandon Oliver, but I will say that Turbin looked really good. And I was actually pretty surprised about that. I did not expect him to get that many touches in this game, but he was really handling that workload. And that was very interesting to see, especially because.
Would you say that the shock comes from him actually playing so well? The shock doesn't come from the Colts using this many backs. I think this is going to be in their plan. I think Frank Reich wants to do this. He did it in Philly. He's done it for a couple of years in Philly. I think he might want to be doing this here. So, don't put a lot of stock in one guy in Indy. Like, be ready to take some of the complementary pieces like Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins in the back few rounds because they're going to have more value. But yeah, Turbin as well. Turbin's going undrafted right now.
Yeah. So all right, and that's it for the news and notes. Again, we get those on SleeperBot. Check it out. All right, Travis, you ready to get into this?
Dude.
All right.
The new kid in town. Everybody loves you. So don't let them down.
That's right, Johnny. We got these new kids in town, and I'll tell you what, they don't want to let down their teams. These are the guys that we're trying to watch out for. And for me, it just comes down to Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. It comes down to Washington Redskins with Alex Smith. It comes down to Kansas City with Pat Mahomes, and it comes down to the Denver Broncos with Case Keenum. We will start here with the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins, and they just had that game. You talked about Royce Freeman in that game. They were playing the Vikings. On the other side of the field, Kirk Cousins really lit up the Denver Broncos in the limited work he had. He was hitting Diggs with consistency. Diggs scored a touchdown, and it was just kind of what coming into this preseason, you and I talked, what is going to be the rapport? Which wide receiver is he going to like more? And I think we both agreed that Diggs was going to be the guy that fit more of Kirk Cousins' style of play. And I don't want to overreact here, Johnny, but on that first drive, that's what it looked like to me.
Oh, definitely. I mean, 3 of his 4 completions went to Diggs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, again, that's exactly what we kind of expected. And I'm like, Diggs looks great to me. The second catch he had along the sidelines, again, a 9 route. That's the route that we talk about consistently with Diggs. And that's what he ran, and he extended himself. It was a great catch. I'm really excited. And it wasn't like originally I thought maybe Thielen wasn't even playing, but Thielen was on because he didn't get any targets. So, but Thielen was on the field. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, it's just one preseason game. Don't read into like all of a sudden Thielen's going to completely drop off. I don't think that at all.
But he's going to have value. I just think if you're looking for a guy to choose between, because remember when we started this offseason, Thielen was ahead of Diggs in ADP. And I think we're going to finish this offseason and rightfully so. I think you're going to see that ADP change up to, Diggs is the number 1 guy. And I think we just got a piece of what they can do. So continue to watch that chemistry for as much as they're going to let Kirk Cousins play. I think the other point here to watch is, how is he going to favor his tight end? Because he used to favor his tight end when he had guys like Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis and Niles Paul, more athletic tight ends. Rudolph, not so much of an athletic tight end, more of a safety blanket tight end. I mean, he has some, trust me, he's in the NFL, but What I mean is like he's more of that touchdown guy, that safety net. Is Cousins going to want to go to him as much?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be the interesting thing to see. But again, another thing that I really found interesting was his effect on the running game, right? We saw Latavius Murray. This guy had 4 rushes for over 40 yards.
Yeah.
That is terrific. And I continue to preach that if you are a buyer in Dalvin Cook, you need, and I say you absolutely need to get Latavius Murray and draft him. I understand you're probably going to have to reach, because if you're another owner like Travis and I, and we will hone in on that, oh, okay, X player drafted Dalvin Cook, I might be willing to go around earlier than where he's going to get Dalvin Cook just for a trade piece with that team. So definitely don't just give it to that team. Don't let him draft Latavius Murray in the 13th or 14th round, because you would have missed out on an RB1 if Dalvin Cook ever goes out. So definitely Latavius Murray looked great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the last piece I want to say on the Kirk Cousins addition to Minnesota is, for years under Mike Zimmer, the Vikings have been hesitant to throw a ton. They don't average a ton of attempts, right? So I'm wondering how much they're going to give the keys to Kirk Cousins. You saw them be a little conservative with Case Keenum at times. I want to see if that's the case with a guy who's more consistently thrown for 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns year in and year out. So watch that. I mean,
they did
in this first game. It didn't seem like, you said, yes, they gave it to Murray, but it didn't seem like they had any kind of training wheels on him, at least for that drive. They were letting him kind of air it out. I just want to see if that's going to be a consistent thing. That's the
right.
Something's got to give, right? Kirk Cousins threw for a ton. Zimmer doesn't like to throw for a ton. Who's going to win that battle? They did pay him. They paid him guarantee money. So they're probably going to lean towards Cousins. I see it shaking out that way personally.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. All right, Travis, we're going to jump into our second case here, and that's with Alex Smith and the Washington Redskins. A couple of things that I noticed is he's just like he normally is. He was check downs. Again, we talked about it. Darius Geis looked good, but now with Geis out, the injury to Chris Thompson, he's come out and said he's not going to be fully healthy until probably November. So, fortunately or unfortunately, whether you want to say it either way, P. Ryan now becomes a very interesting play. He's going to get the bulk of the touches. He can receive out of the backfield as well. He's not as good at it as Chris Thompson.
I don't know if we need to go so fast and say it's going to be P. Ryan, no matter what. I was reading last week that P. Ryan may be on the roster bubble. Obviously, he's not going to be that anymore, but Rob Kelly actually lost weight and came into camp down some poundage. So, John, not so fast, Johnny.
Have we given that guy a chance?
He's still on the roster, and
he's definitely a roster bubble guy as well. So you're not just going to give up on a guy after 1 year. We've seen that. So I'm just saying it's definitely something that we need to watch moving forward for sure.
Yeah. Well, I want to look up their depth chart here really quick.
Okay. I will take.
Rob Kelly is above Samaje Perine on the depth chart. It's Chris Thompson listed as number 1 right now. Obviously, these are a little early. I'm just saying, don't write off Rob Kelly. Like, you're automatically putting Samaje Perine in there. Rob Kelly may be.
That's how I have him projected. That's how I'm not afraid of Rob Kelly. We've seen him. We know what he's about. He's injury prone.
I don't know that any defenses are afraid of Samaje Perine. So,
and I also don't think that Chris Thompson is going to be the number 1 run. I mean, that he's injured. So that just shows how irrelevant that depth chart is right now.
He said he wouldn't be 100% in November. He didn't say he wasn't going to play. So he's definitely not. He's not on the field. I mean, he's getting the work in. So.
Correct. Yes, I absolutely 100% agree.
So what's the biggest things that you are looking for with Alex Smith to the Redskins?
Well, how does that O-line hold up, right?
Yeah.
Generally, speaking, that O-line hasn't been very good. Now they did get some pieces back this year, so they should be, according to Pro Football Focus, they are improved. However, the one nice thing with Alex Smith is he doesn't need a lot of time. He's a dink and dunker. He doesn't hold the ball for a long period of time. So I actually am going to go back in my rankings and adjust his rushing percentage. I actually had him lower than his average. I'm going to increase that. I think he might run a little bit more this year because that offensive line isn't nearly as good as Kansas City's. But it held up pretty nicely on the first drive the other night. So it definitely, he made some really nice throws. Typical Alex Smith. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback this year. And I think that if you need to stream him from week to week, you can certainly do that. I know that you're very high on him. I
like Alex Smith as a guy to kind of jump tiers potentially, and you'll see that in our cheat sheet if you download it on the website, thefantasywhisperers.com. You get your email in there. We'll get you that draft kit over for free. We put in a lot of hours to make this thing perfect for you guys. It's launching tomorrow. You guys get on the website and subscribe for that. But either way, I have Alex Smith as a guy I like to see jump. Like you look at Andy Dalton's career year. You look at all of the success Kirk Cousins has, and that's because of Jay Gruden. And now with the injury to the backfield, I like them to throw a ton more. So I think Alex Smith is a sneaky pick at the end of your drafts. I think the biggest thing to watch for, Johnny, is who's that number one wide receiver. They got guys they think can do it. Is it Crowder? He's had great rapport with Alex Smith, they said. Is it Richardson? They brought him in from Seattle. Is it Doxson, who he's a darling. Everybody wants this guy to be the guy. Yeah. Is he ever going to be? You know, he's already banged up in camp a little bit, excuse me. So I think that's the thing to watch for here. And I think like people are not buying into Smith's ability, you know, and like for me, I think that's a disrespect to not only Smith, but to Gruden himself too, who is calling the plays over there. So speaking of Smith coming from Kansas City, that's who we're going to talk about next with Pat Mahomes. Johnny, are you buying into the hype? Are you liking him? It sounds like he's having a rough camp a little bit. He came in and was very vanilla in his first preseason game. Talk to me about that.
I am a little bit concerned. I was already concerned simply for the fact that I didn't expect him to be super consistent this year as a rookie, quote unquote, rookie quarterback. He's been reported throwing several interceptions. It's not just like one interception a practice. It's like several interceptions in practice. And they're not, it's like teleporting stuff. So I do have my concerns as far as, you know, how his fantasy value is going to take a hit. It'll be interesting because I want to see how much he runs the ball, right? Because we see it, especially in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson isn't a guy who throws over 30 touchdowns in his career, like often. He's usually kind of lower in the yardage, but he has this massive 500 yards rushing, which makes up a large portion of his fantasy points. So that could be the case for Pat Mahomes, although the few plays that he was in, he seemed to be a little bit more pocket presence and kind of focusing on that. So that's why I would have my concerns, because I don't know that rushing floor is built in necessarily.
Yeah, for me, I just want to see how he affects, like if they're going to not be successful this year, their defense is not very good and it's lost a lot of pieces. Right. Yep. And so does that mean that they're going to throw a ton more? And he's kind of got the arm to do it. So what does that mean for the running game? Like, does Kareem Hunt lose a little bit of touches this year based on the fact that he's not an elite pass catcher? He will catch passes, and he did last year. And they're saying he's working out in the offseason. So for me, like, can Mahomes keep him afloat and keep him in games and make the right decisions? Because with a defense so banged up and depleted, can you not turn the ball over like you've been doing in practice? Can you keep the ball with the offense? Kareem Hunt's value, you got to kind of watch it. I mean, so I think the Chiefs are going to be a lot worse than people think just because they're, you know, that defense. But I mean, I'm not too down. I'm still taking, like, if Hunt ends up on my team, I'm not sad. Right. He's definitely an elite first round talent, or at least as far as opportunity goes. I'm just saying, watch out for this. Definitely watch the preseason, see if Mahomes can get it corrected. So finally, Johnny, I want us to talk a little bit.
Corrections, right?
Yeah, that's right. I want to talk a little bit about the Denver Broncos. We talked a little bit about Royce Freeman, but the guy coming to hand the ball off to Royce Freeman is now Case Keenum, new kid in town. So tell me, is this Cortland Sutton hype that's going on, that third wide receiver, is this real? Like, because I'm hearing a lot of whispers about it, and I just want to know.
I mean, for me, I would tend to lean on no. I mean, is he going to be a good receiver? I think he can. We saw a couple plays that he made the other night where it was like, whoa, that was pretty. You could see the talent there. There's definitely talent. It's just with Case Keenum, I don't know how high that ceiling is.
Yeah.
I don't think that he can throw for 4,500 yards. I think that
it was more about like who he threw to, right, Johnny? Like, because last year it was Diggs, Thielen, and then Rudolph. Like, he never threw to a third wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, is there even value there for Sutton?
Yeah, exactly. And his very first pass that he threw was to Demaryius Thomas, which I wasn't really surprised about that. I love Demaryius Thomas this year.
I have to kind of give you props on that one, brother. Like, I've been kind of hesitant on Demaryius Thomas, and there's still some advanced metrics about his game speed and his catch rate that I don't like. They tailed off, but I heard through some people and some reading online, they're trying to use him more like Larry Fitzgerald, and they're trying to use him in the slot, and they're trying to move him around like you've talked about before. And what a boost for his fantasy prospects if that's the case, if they stick to that.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, but getting back to Case Keenum, he didn't perform that well at all. Like, let's just call it what it is. He didn't perform well at all. So there is a little bit of concern there of, you've been saying it, that is Case Keenum just a product of an offense, and that's why he was so good last year, or was it the head coach and he'll be fine? Now, I don't want to read too much into this one drive. Maybe he was getting the flow or whatever you might want to call it. However, if this happens again in the next game, when he's probably going to play at least half a quarter, then I will be with you, and I'll be starting to say, well, I think, maybe they did make a mistake in signing him.
Yeah, I think you got to watch it, because I think with the line that's bad there, and the defense is going to be good. So I don't know. Like, I would just watch Case Keenum. If he can bounce back from this preseason, we don't want to overreact, of course. But I think that Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders will have value. And so will whoever, if there's one running back there, if they can name one guy to be the guy, I think that guy will have value too. But as far as, ancillary pieces, I don't really know.
Yeah. All right, Travis, that ends our main portion of our show. But first, before we bring on our special guests in Chelsea, I want to just do one last topic real quick. Is there anybody else in the preseason that jumped off to you that maybe were a little bit lower on, or they lived up to the hype? You want to just give one quick shoot at the hip at one player that you were surprised by?
Dang, that's tough. I mean, I guess I was we already talked about it. I guess I was just surprised with how much they fed Diggs on that first drive. Like, I really thought they would have worked more pieces in. And it was really the Diggs show. Other than that, I think Saquon Barkley did what we thought he could be. He came in, he got it done. I mean, that guy is a human specimen. He is going to be really good at football for a really long time.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, yeah, that was good. Crowell, you talked about it a little bit. I was very excited to see Crowell do his thing. Hopefully he can come back from that injury. Jamal Williams, I spoke a little bit about it. Jamal Williams looked really good for the Packers.
Yeah, he did.
A couple Packers wide receivers reserves looked really good. Equinemius St. Brown, Scantley. There were some good guys there that did some things. So the Tennessee Titans surprised me a little bit. They marched right down the field and scored. So that's what you want to see for offenses that are bounce back. You want to see them actually do it in the preseason and then take that to the field. So those are a couple of my notes on that.
I'm just going to add one, and that was it. And this is the whisper of this episode.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah, it's a
Whisper.
yes. If Baker Mayfield starts,
I knew you were gonna
will
love him.
want him on your team. This guy you're talking about rushing. He's going to get 4 to 5 scrambles a game where he will just and he is really good at getting that first down. So that's 5 point. Like I would project around 40. If he can get 4 to 5 of those, he's going to get around 40 yards rushing per game. And he looked good. Like he looked really good passing the ball. He had good passes into tight windows. The David Njoku touchdown, which also a little side note, David Njoku looked good as well.
Yeah,
he was being targeted
that's a good point.
by both Tyrod and by Baker Mayfield. So continue to watch the stock on Jarvis or on Njoku, and then my boy, bless him, Jarvis Landry. That guy is going to I am saying it here. That guy is going to be a good wide receiver. He is at an amazing value right now. He's already started to creep up. I understand what you're saying that Josh Gordon's not there. And I'm not worried about Josh Gordon at all because guess who's building a chemistry right now? Jarvis. Guess who's wowing people in practice right now? Jarvis. Like you saw it on Hard Knocks. They were like, wow, Jarvis is elite.
Listen, you're not saying anything that we don't know. Jarvis Landry has been killing it in the NFL for years. Like, we get that. I know it. I'm just saying, like, pump the brakes. It's week 1. But I will say that I agree with you. I think Gordon and Landry are both going to have value in this offense. And Njoku. And that just, it's reflected in my rankings when you see them come out with the draft kit and my projections. You're going to see that because I am really high on Tyrod Taylor this year.
Yeah, me too.
Like, Tyrod Taylor was perfect in preseason. Came out, and what was the biggest story for Johnny? Baker Mayfield. Like, so that's what I'm talking about. Like, the guy, like Tyrod Taylor, I'm high on a Cleveland quarterback this year, which sounds really gross to say, but I am really high on Tyrod Taylor. Like, you just see him out there doing it right now.
And that's the thing that I really think is awesome is that both of these guys are going free. They are going free. And so I'm fine with taking Tyrod because I think I agree with you, Tyrod. I have
like you're gonna find QB is so deep. Like even if Tyrod does get pulled, you're gonna find somebody that you can plug in. You're gonna be okay.
Or if there's whisperings, if you continue to listen to us, you'll hear the whispers.
Fantasy whisperings.
Exactly. And we will tell you when to pick up Tyrod or when to pick up Baker Mayfield. So you don't even have to go with that issue.
I agree.
So, all right, Travis, let's introduce our first ever guest onto the show. Woo-hoo! She's going to be talking about her article that is going to be going up soon on our website. Let's give a warm welcome, Chelsea Byers. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being our first guest here on the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. I had no idea I was the first guest.
First ever.
Shows how I'm flattered.
Yeah, well, welcome. We love to have you.
Do you have a Twitter or some kind of way to reach out for if fans want to reach out for you for some advice?
You're just always
I do.
giving your fans.
It's at Chelsea Levy, and I actually just tweeted at the Fantasy Whisperers, so I'm sure you could find me in the mentions there.
For sure,
Perfect.
For sure. Awesome. Sounds great. Well, we have a few questions for you. I hope that you don't mind being in the hot seat for a couple of minutes.
Bring it on.
All right. Travis, you want to start off?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating, writing this article. We are pumped to get it up on the website. So kind of in line with that article, if you wanted to just summarize it for us, give us a couple points on it. Don't tease too much. We obviously want the readers to go online and read it. But if you could just tell us, a little bit about the article, and then just tell me what excited you most about writing this piece.
Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity to write it. I wrote a lot about my experience as a woman in fantasy football. I like to talk about my experience being a woman in general. And so talking about it in relationship to one of my great joys of fantasy football was really fun. I think that there's just a lot that is specifically women experience about fantasy football. And I was excited to dig into some of those experiences that I've had and share them. I know that you are starting a women-only listeners league. I have some suggestions for that, by the way. But I'm really excited to be a part of that. And I think that this piece could be a really great introduction to what women can expect and some of the things that we may deal with in this male-dominated realm of fantasy football that it is. But I will say that women are on the rise. There are more than 20% of participants in fantasy football are women, and I think that's so awesome. So thanks for making space.
Yeah, of course. We appreciate you kind of bringing those stats to light because, I think a lot of the times people construe it as like, women don't play a lot of fantasy. And some of the most intense fantasy players I've ever played against are women. And I got a ton of women hitting me up all the time asking me about leagues and stuff. So I'm really excited to get this league launched. And I'm excited that you're excited about it as well. Chelsea, did you want to talk about your favorite team? Tell us your favorite NFL team and why that is your favorite NFL team.
Yeah, totally. So I'm from Arizona, and of course the Cardinals have a place in my heart because of that. But the real team that has captured me through and through is the Philadelphia Eagles. I lived in that grizzly city in 2010 and had the opportunity to attend most every home game of the Eagles, including a home game on my 21st birthday, which was just a surreal experience. So there was nothing like learning how to watch the game of football, being there live in the crowd. I swear that's where I learned how to swear. And I just really fell in love with the sport then. So the Eagles will always have my heart for that. And it feels especially cool to say that on the tail of the first ever Super Bowl victory for them. So,
fly, Eagles, fly, right?
Exciting.
Right on.
Chelsea, I got a quick question for you. What excited you the most about writing this article?
I was so excited to communicate the things that I loved about fantasy football alongside the things that are challenges, because I think especially now when the NFL itself becomes such a difficult and contentious topic for a lot of different reasons, the ongoing protests that are happening, the way that players are even addressing the sport that they're playing, concussions, these things that make it really hard at times to be a fan. I think at the same time, there are things that make it hard to be a female sports fan. So it was great to talk about those issues alongside the things that make me love it and stick around, right, and fight through it. So I hope in that light, it's something that everybody can connect to, that there are things that make it really challenging, but dealing with those challenges is part of the joy of being there in the first place.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say it's worth the work that we have to put in to save this? We have such a special thing with fantasy football and football in general, right? We just need to do better at taking care of this thing and coming together and talking about, what makes it so special and how do we save it. So
Totally. I love that.
Yeah. Cool. So we want to talk a little bit about the ladies listeners, the Lady Listener League. Chelsea is going to participate. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, triple. That's what I was thinking it could be called. Triple.
Yeah, triple. Oh, that's good. Yeah. So
Triple.
We are opening up to the listeners now. Any females that are out there and want to play and get in on it, please do. We are going to, just go to the Facebook page. You can even go to Twitter or Instagram and DM us there. Let us know you want to play. And we are going to probably close the doors on the league, and these spots are going to fill up fast. So make sure you get to us. And we're going to probably close the doors on the league on Friday the 17th. And then we'll be posting when that draft is going to happen. A couple of the ladies that are already in want me and Johnny to sponsor a spa day.
Yeah.
For the ladies, and we are definitely. Yeah, that's right. So you're gonna need a belt for while you're getting a massage. You'd be wearing the belt while you're getting a massage. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, I would say that when going towards that championship prize is the joy of being in it in that competition. So I'm really excited that you're going to put something on the line for us that's totally worthy of the pursuit. I hope that people are excited to join. It'll be a fun league to be a part of.
Cool. We are excited as well. I know me and Johnny are pumped, especially for the draft. Our idea for the draft is that we will have the ladies on for a YouTube special. Basically, their draft will be broadcast. Me and Johnny will have, from the peanut gallery, kind of, doing our spiel, talking a little bit about the picks. Yeah.
Some popcorn.
Yeah, we're gonna be really, the ladies could be going at it on the comments, and we'll be able to, give our 2 cents. Not that you guys care, but we will give it anyways because that's what we do here. So I'm excited for that, definitely. And Chelsea, just the last thing for tonight, I wanted to ask you if you'd play a little game with us. If you'd play a little Would You Rather tonight.
I was hoping that you would ask. Thank you.
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
All right, sweet.
I love
a game of Would You Rather.
Yeah, we're gonna play a little bit tonight. Oh,
All right.
actually, hold on. I'm sorry, I screwed this all up. Chelsea, we just got done with the preseason show. I really wanted to know some of the preseason storylines that you're watching, that you're looking at for, some of the things that are big on your mind going into the regular season.
Totally. Well, as an Eagles fan, I can't help but look around the division, and the Giants are just giving us so much to be excited and scared for all at the same time.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley is a beast, and I'm also slotted in that territory where he could fall to me in the draft. So I'm just trying to fall in love with that idea. And in general, rookie running backs, I think, are just such an interesting storyline. There are so many of them all across the league. And I was lucky to have Leonard Fournette on my team last year, and seeing that rookie running back turn into a household name that's worthy of a first-round pick this year is just another cool thing to get to look at with the rookie running back class in general, who's going to stick around and who's going to fade into the mist. Rest in peace. But yeah. And then just, I got to throw it out there. LaShawn McCoy is just the no zone for me. There's so many, it pains me, especially as an Eagles fan who has, he was my first jersey I ever got from an NFL player, to see what's become of this guy. He's a second round candidate, but that's, scary to think that the NFL could kick him out anytime with some of the summer shenanigans that went on. So I'm going to put him on my list of untouchables.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, right, that Chelsea makes there, Johnny. Literally, you could draft this guy in the second round and poof, he's gone the next day. I mean, as somebody that owned a lot of stock in Ezekiel Elliott last year, it was a roller coaster of emotions dealing with that kind of you don't know if he's suspended tomorrow or the next day. So it's hard to make lineup decisions based on that, or draft based on that.
All right, so I'm gonna start off this Would You Rather, and I'm gonna ask the both of you. Okay. We've got all clustered together, going right next to each other as far as running backs go. We have Derrick Henry, the guy that Chelsea just talked about, in LaShawn McCoy or Alex Collins, and I'll even throw Jay Ajayi in there because they're all going right next to each other. Which ones would you or which one singular would you rather have between Derrick Henry, LaShawn McCoy, Alex Collins, or Jay Ajayi?
I would take Alex Collins. Yeah, I would take Alex Collins. I think he's the 3-down back that you run with in this scenario. Jay Ajayi is going to have a lot higher ceiling, maybe being on the Eagles with that high-powered offense, but I just think he's going to be splitting carries, as the Eagles like to do with running backs. Same thing that's going to be happening in Tennessee. And as I said, we're not touching LaShawn McCoy this year. So
for sure. I'm just going to echo what Chelsea said there. For me, it's more about the fact that Baltimore was a top 5 efficiency running back field last year. And the only guy I really was worried about was Kenneth Dixon coming up. And he's already got a hamstring. And hamstring is one of the hardest injuries to come back from, especially when it happens early like this. So for me, it's Alex Collins. I agree with Chelsea. Derrick Henry's a little scary with Dion Lewis there, especially he keeps creeping up a little bit in ADP. And it's a little too scary for me. Ajayi, I will agree with the ceiling comment. I love Ajayi's ceiling, but they love Corey Clement. They love Darren Sproles. They're going to work both those guys in.
What I like about Alex Collins that Kenneth Dixon handcuffed too is that he's probably slipping ADP because of the hamstring. Yeah. It's a lock up a handcuff much later than you would have to, even if that's questionable.
We've talked about that several times. This backfield is very inexpensive to own with, is even Buck Allen, who is a guy that's going to be annoying at times for that backfield, but he is cheap as well. And Alex Collins is getting a little disrespected.
Well,
in
and
ADP, in my opinion.
they've come out and talked about. There was a beat writer that said, that it's not a lock that Kenneth Dixon even makes this roster.
Right.
I don't expect that. Based on the fact they've kept him this long, why not keep him just a little bit longer? But it is something to think about. So Buck Allen actually might be the guy that you're going to want to draft as the backup. And guess what? He's going even cheaper than Kenneth Dixon.
Right.
He's not even being drafted in most cases. So, that's something to look out for. All right. Travis, do you have one in mind, or do you want me to throw out another one?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit at the top of the draft. I give this guy, not the very top, but in the second round right now, 201 and 202 is Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio Jones. So Odell Beckham Jr. is obviously coming off an injury, and Julio Jones is obviously a guy that hasn't caught a lot of touchdowns in his career. So for you guys, which guy are you taking if a gun's to your head and you got to pick between a wide receiver? Hopefully a gun's not to your head anytime soon.
Chelsea, you want to go first?
Your draft.
Yeah.
Might be in the wrong kind of draft there.
Yeah.
Chelsea, you want to go first with answering this one?
I really don't have a feeling, and I think that's maybe why I'm happy to not be towards that back end of the draft with those kind of questions.
Yeah.
So close either way. But part of me wants to say that Julio edges it out just because he's the sole weapon on that offense or at that level. I think Giants have a lot going on for them, but I don't know on that one. I don't really care. Just happy to have one, I guess.
I'm going. I'm definitely going Odell on this one. I have a feeling he's just gonna go off this year. I've seen his training videos. I've seen him dancing with the Kiki. Love what you do, Odell. Keep it up, buddy. But it just for me,
Instagram follow for sure.
Yeah. If he can follow the Fantasy Whispers, it's gonna be a huge highlight. All right,
that would be great.
If you know Odell, if you're watching this, one, we appreciate you, bro, and two, I love you this year. I think that there is a chance where we could see Odell be the number one wide receiver at the end of the year because he wants to be paid like a quarterback, and he knows that it's at the point where he has to prove that he's really worth that money, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And I think that's why we're not hearing any of this off the field shenanigans since training camp has started, since the video with the, female
brown cigarette and
the line of some substance. We have literally not heard or seen anything negative for Odell since then. So I expect him to be super focused. And like you said, Chelsea, I understand your point of Julio's essentially the number one ex facto. There's no one even half as good as him, whereas Odell has a little bit more talent around him. But I think that actually helps because teams won't be able to double as often as they would like because Eli can spread the ball around. And so and with Saquon back there, it kind of forces them to play a little bit up, which I do like. So for me, give me OBJ. Big Travis, what do you got?
I would just echo your OBJ comment. And my thing is you talk about the pass catchers there, but the one constant in those pass catchers is OBJ gets work when Eli and OBJ are on the field, like no matter what. So Sterling Shepard's there, yes. Evan Ingram's there, but I think we know who Eli loves, and that's OBJ. So OBJ's just more fun for me. Like Julio not scoring enough touchdowns for me to be excited. So,
and the touchdown dances aren't as exciting. So it's like
he's not scoring them, so he has no time to dance.
I guess that's a very valid point there. All right, Chelsea, do you have one that you're ready to shoot out at us? That came out very bad.
Okay, just because this is my current hypothetical, in that first round, the Saquon option, the 5th overall running back, or are you going to walk with the first wide receiver off the board at Antonio Brown? How would you make that first maneuver?
Johnny, go ahead.
All right, so this is a great question, right? You're talking about one of the most consistent players, not just at his position, but just in fantasy. He's been the number one wide receiver in PPR leagues over the last 5 years. He's going to get 100 plus catches. He's going to get 150 plus targets. Targets are usually what rules fantasy football, right? That's how we base our projections on. However, if I'm talking about targets, Saquon is going to be the target gobbler there in the Giants backfield. He's got no one to really push him for any kind of volume. He's going to be on the field consistently. He can do it all. He can pass block, or at least he showed he improved on that. That was a little bit of a knock coming into the NFL. But to me, I love the upside of Saquon that Saquon brings. I know what I'm getting with Antonio Brown, but there is a little bit of injury concern there in past years. So for me, unless it's a PPR league, I'm going Saquon just because of the value that it presents there as far as the upside.
Yeah, I'm going to agree again with Johnny. This is really weird, so I'll just agree again with Johnny. Saquon Barkley, just this is a fact for me about running back scarcity, okay? There's just not enough running backs to go around, and if you have a shot at an elite running back, your team is going to be so much better off versus having an elite wide receiver. Wide receiver, I believe, is a little bit more deeper. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be mad if Antonio Brown is on my team, but if you go to our website, thefantasywhispers.com, you download that draft kit, you put your email in there, you're going to see my projections. And in my projections, something a little bit of a hot take is if you put the flex rankings together, I'm not taking Antonio Brown till pick 10 or 11 right now. It's just the way it's working out. I'm taking all these running backs before him, the value that they have at the position. That's just my thought on Saquon Barkley is going to be a beast too. I feel bad for Antonio Brown because he's hell of exciting as himself, but Saquon Barkley is super exciting right now.
The one
so
last
hot
thing
right now.
just so hot. The one last thing I want to add, Chelsea, before we get your opinion on it, is just you look at the scarcity of the position, right? Travis kind of touched on it, but when you're looking at running backs, the difference between Todd Gurley last year and even the 12th running back was a really significant difference. The difference between Antonio Brown and the 10th wide receiver is not as significant of a gap. And there's a deeper pool of wide receivers this year than there are at running backs. So at least elite talent running backs. So for me, I would tend to lean Saquon in that. But what would you choose in this scenario?
Yeah, I totally hear you. And
we are very, very interested in this.
Yeah. The more I really sit with it and try to weigh out the reasons why I would go against what feels like the right move with picking the best running back talent available at the spot, because it is such a need in the league. It's really just feeling that the rookie is the risk. But I think Saquon proves himself time and time again. And I've had Antonio Brown on my team. He's been a joy to watch at that position. But it's it just feels like it is the year of the running backs, and to miss out on the best opportunity or the best value at that position when you have it staring you down would be foolish. And I am trying not to play a foolish fantasy football.
That's right.
There you go. Any last words for us before we let you go?
No, thanks a lot for having me on, the first guest. I'm going to put that on my resume. I love what you guys are doing. I'm excited to be a part of it.
As you should.
Yeah. Where can we reach you on social media again for everybody? They're going to read this article on the website tomorrow. Hopefully we get that launched on the website tomorrow or this week. And they're going to want to hear more from you and talk more with you, or maybe see some more of your other work.
Yeah, looking forward to it. You can reach out to me at Chelsea Levy on Twitter. Or Instagram, it's the same handle. And slide into my DMs, we can talk. One of my favorite parts about being a female fantasy football player is learning and getting connected to all the other women who play the sport. And Twitter's been such a great space for that. I've been talking to writers who work at Yahoo Sports for fantasy, and going to their events here in Los Angeles. And it's been really cool meeting that community. So come on out, get in touch with me, and I'd love to help you be a part of it as well.
Perfect. And with our Lady Listener League, we're hoping to foster that community some more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for joining us on the Fantasy Whispers. It was a pleasure, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Definitely looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye. All right, Big Travie. That's all we got for today's show. Again, thank you so much to Chelsea Lee Byers for joining us. Also, if you liked what you heard today, please go download our latest podcast on all platforms, iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. You can check this video out on YouTube and on Facebook, as well as hit us up on Instagram. We got a lot of cool videos going up on player profiles. And then as well as go to thefantasywhispers.com, and that's where you can get that coveted draft kit for free, absolutely for free.
That's
All you
right.
got to do is type in your email. Just go to the website, wait about 7 seconds. You'll get a pop-up, and you just type in your email right there, and it'll shoot you the draft kit. It's going to help
Like
you win your league.
Johnny hit it right there, guys. It's a value. I mean, it's
Yeah.
free. We have spent hours and hours and hours crafting this thing, making it perfect for you guys. And all the other guys out there are charging you. We want to give you guys this knowledge for free. All you got to do is go in there, throw in your email, and that email is going to benefit you down the road too. We're going to send out newsletters. We're going to send out updates. We're going to update this draft kit live all the time. We're also going to do waiver wire pieces throughout the year. So just you want to be a part of this. We're going to help you dominate, win that championship.
Yep. All right. Until next time, that's Big Travie, and I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks, and we're giving you that fantasy football fix. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.